Hello everybody, welcome to the Conscious Collaboration. My name is Jarrod Allen. Today we're going to cover a topic that I know a lot of people have questions around when coming to work with ayahuasca. We're going to talk about intentions, we're going to talk about intention setting and basically everything surrounding the whole intention thing that you hear a lot about when working with ayahuasca. So in this space, as you consider moving into your work with ayahuasca, you've probably heard the word intention thrown around a lot. It's something you're going to see appear in videos, it's something you're going to see appear in articles as you do your research. One thing I've noticed though is there doesn't necessarily seem to be a whole lot of clarity around the whole intention thing. So due to this, from my experience, what I've seen is a lot of people feel a little bit worried about their intention. Sometimes they worry that their intention is too long, it's too short. They're worried that their intention isn't correct or specific enough, for instance, as well. So I decided to do a video on this. Hopefully this is going to give you a little bit of clarity on the whole intention thing. So in this video, what we're going to cover what is an intention, try and dig into that a little bit. Also, why an intention is important. I'd also like to hopefully help you guys figure out how to structure an intention, maybe a little exercise that I do in regards to that. Also, in the end, I'd like to just run over a couple of things to look out for, maybe some of the traps that people fall into when setting their intention. So, to begin with, let's start with what is an intention. So, in my opinion, an intention at its core is the intent or the why we are going to work with plant medicine in the first place, or ayahuasca in this case. So it's really important that we go through a process of sort of digging in and figuring out what are the things and what is it that we'd really like to get out of our ayahuasca work, for instance. So it's a process of being really honest with ourselves and looking at the things that we need to work on, the things we need to heal, potentially the things that we need to release, and also maybe the things that we need to change our relationship with. So when it comes to the intent of why we come to work with ayahuasca, every single person is different and every single person has their reasons why they're going to do the work with ayahuasca in the first place. There's no right, there's no wrong. Some people are looking for personal growth, some people feel a bit stuck, some people are dealing with big challenges like mentally or spiritually with like depression, anxiety. Some people will come to work with ayahuasca for physical ailments. Some people will come to work with ayahuasca for, releasing trauma or specific things that have been holding them back in the past. There's a really wide range of reasons why people come to work with ayahuasca. So the whole intention thing is really a process of sort of digging into that and digging into exactly what that is to you, and sort of structuring it into some sentences or into some phrases, for instance, that you can carry into your ceremony. That's sort of the whole intention thing, if I was to sort of summarize it in my opinion. So now we have a bit of an idea of what an intention is. Let's sort of dig into why an intention is important. So there are many reasons why an intention is important. Let's talk about it in the three parts of the work with ayahuasca, breaking it down very simply into the preparation stages, the ceremony or participation stages, and the integration stages. So in regards to the preparation stages, this is where you're really going to set your intention. It's a process of sort of digging in, recognizing the things that you'll need to change or recognizing the things you would like to work on. And it also really helps us focusing as we go through those preparation stages. Depending on how you want to take it, you should be preparing for a minimum of 2 weeks, but some people actually go up to a month and even multiple months, 2-3 months in their preparation for ayahuasca. This can be physical, this can be mental, this can be spiritual as well. So as we are preparing, intention is super important, and that process of setting an intention is super important because it gives us the ability to really bring to the surface the things that we want to work on. Now, when it comes to the participation part of your work with ayahuasca, Having a solid intention that you've set in your preparation stages is going to be super, super helpful. It's going to be helpful because of many reasons, but let's talk about some of the main reasons. When you are in the middle of a ceremony, let's be honest, things are going to get challenging, and they regularly do get challenging. Having a really good intention or a why you were there in the first place is going to be really, really helpful. To give you an example, there's been many occasions for myself where I've been in the middle of a ceremony, I've been going through a purging process, for instance. It's very intense, there's a whole lot of things going on around me. Having that intention there to be able to lean back on and sort of give me a North Star has been super, super helpful. Now, it is also really helpful in regards to helping things make sense in the ceremony. So sometimes things are really intense and confusing. When I revert that back to the intention, if my intention is really rock solid, it does help me a lot sort of make sense of what's happening during those ceremonies. And once again, it does help me keep focus during those periods of time. So having a really good intention throughout your ceremonial work, say for instance in a retreat setting where you're doing 3 or 4 ceremonies over a week period, having that intention there is going to help you keep moving in the right direction and keep you pointing in the right direction as well. Now, that's not to say sometimes your intentions do change as you move along. Sometimes the work with the medicine is going to tell you that your intention isn't what you need to be working on, but that's completely fine as well. We can alter our intentions as we go along, but it's really important to have an intent or an intention or a why you're there in the first place. Now, why an intention is super important during the integration stages of your work with ayahuasca as well is that after we've had our journeys and we start to integrate them, so integrate them into ourselves, integrate them into our daily lives, having that intention there is going to help us make sense of a lot of things that have happened during our ceremonies. Once again, it's also probably going to give us a little bit of clarity, help give us a bit of guidance, and if we can take our experiences on one hand, take our intention and sit there and look at different perspectives of what it could be trying to show us, it's going to make things a whole lot easier. Okay, so now we've got an idea of what is an intention. Now we have an idea of why it's important during the different phases of our work with ayahuasca. Let's sort of dig in on how to structure an intention. This is going to be really personal to you. There is no right or wrong, so don't be too hard on yourself. But hopefully with this little bit of an exercise, we can get an idea of how to structure an intention that's going to be specific to you and something that you can take into your ceremonies feeling confident that it is the right intention for you. So the best way you can do it is probably take a workbook of some description, anything, some paper, just a workbook. Find yourself a really nice, quiet place, somewhere that you're not going to be disturbed. You probably already have a pretty good idea of what you want to work on coming into your work with ayahuasca. For a lot of people, it is a very profound thing that you're stepping into. It's a very challenging thing you're stepping into, and a lot of people don't take this lightly. But if we go through a process of actually writing these things down that we want to work on, writing these things down that we want to work through or change our relationship with, we can really start to zoom in, we can really start to narrow down exactly what it is we would like to take to each ceremony. So take a piece of paper, take a little workbook, whatever it might be, and just start to write down the things that you'd like to work on, the things that you'd like to change, the things that you'd like to change your relationship with. Write down the things that you think might be holding you back. Write down the things that have sort of always maybe been there that you haven't been able to work through, for instance. There can be 15, 20, 30, it doesn't matter. It's just a process of putting them all down on paper. Once you've put those down on paper, what you're most probably going to see is they're not going to be 20 or 30 different things. There's going to be a bit of a trend happening here. Some things are going to be very, very similar. So you can then narrow that down into maybe 10 things, for instance, and through this process, you're probably going to really start to see the things that are super important that you need to work on first. They should be your first intentions a lot of the time. The big things, the things that you think are really holding you back. If you can start to bring those to light, I think you are pointing in the right direction of having a very good intention for your first ceremonies. So if you're doing 1 or 2 ceremonies, you can have a separate intention for each ceremony. If you're doing 3 or 4, you can have a separate intention for each of those. Some people will also have a holistic intention for like a group of ayahuasca work as well, which is completely fine also. So once you've narrowed this down, you've narrowed down the essential things that you want to work on. I'm not going to tell you what those things are because they need to be specific to you, but things that you want to work on, things that you want to change, things that you want growth towards. You can take those and you want to put them into a sentence that's really easy to remember. You know, something along the lines of show me, or help me with X, guide me with X, teach me, for instance. The simpler, the easier it is to remember, the easier it's going to be to remember if the going does get tough within your ceremonies as well. Now you can have a few different intentions and you can even work with them. Sit with a separate intention, for instance, and start to see what resonates with you. But the simpler, the better, and the more important, the better as well, I think is the best way to approach this. Okay, so now that we have ran through what is an intention, why an intention is important, and also hopefully given you a bit of an idea of how to structure an intention, I'm just going to go through a couple of things to look out for when setting your intention as well. So first things first, we really have to understand there's a very big difference between an intent or a why we're going to work with ayahuasca compared to a wish or a command. This is a bit of a mistake sometimes some people fall into, and you'll learn that very quickly within the ceremonial work as well. When we say work with ayahuasca, it means that you are bringing something to the table to work with ayahuasca. If we go in there with the mentality of it's going to be a wish or it's just going to get solved for us, then it's going to be a little bit more challenging for us. So number one, an intention is not a wish. It's also not a command. So ayahuasca is a very, very powerful journey. It's a very powerful energy. A lot goes on within those ceremonies also. So it's not a matter of paying some money for your ceremony and then all your wishes and your commands get answered. It doesn't work like that at all. So it's not a wish, it's not a command. The other thing to be really cautious of is expectation. So in today's society, it is really, really easy to have expectations, especially when we are coming to do things. Now this is just, the work with ayahuasca is just a totally different realm of anything that we could possibly expect from our previous experience in life. It's the only way I can sort of put it. So we have to be very cautious that we're not coming in with huge amounts of expectation. What I've seen through my work with ayahuasca, when we have really high expectations, so when I talk about expectations, pre-deciding what we think a journey is going to be, like pre-deciding what we should be getting out of a journey, comparing our outcomes from our ayahuasca journeys with other people's, for instance, things that we've seen on YouTube or read about or friends telling us. We really need to leave those expectations at the door, because whatever happens to you, whatever happens for you, whatever this beautiful, powerful medicine shows you, it's going to be very specific to you. Every single person's different, every single person's life is different. Every single person's reason for coming to work with the medicine is very, very different. And people are also at different parts of their process, and we have to remember that. So being very grateful of what happens for you is really, really important, and making sure that we don't come in with huge amounts of expectation. We also should really remember that it is a process. So if we do come in with a certain intention and it doesn't get answered or it doesn't get solved in the first ceremony, just understand that it might be moving something out of the way. It might be changing your perspective with something, so eventually your intention or the thing that you want to work on or solve can be worked on. So just remember, it is a process. You know, I have intentions from years ago that are only sort of starting to come to fruition now through the process of working on myself, and you know, the medicine showing me you know, what I need to do, doing things within my life, for instance. So it's a process. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's not come in, do your ceremony, everything's solved, everything's over. So just remember that. It's really important. It's also very likely that our intentions won't be answered in the way that we think. So be very open, come into it with an open heart and an open mind, and you'll go a lot further with your ceremonies also. Also, just keep it simple and clear. It's really important that we do keep it simple and clear, concise, straight to the point. Also, if it's too long or it's too long-winded, it's going to be hard for you to keep focusing on it. It's going to be hard for you to be able to sit with it within ceremony and also leading in. So just clear, concise, straight to the point is the best way to go. I think the other important thing is once you get to your ceremonies or your retreats, like have your intention present, but don't fixate on it. Don't go through your whole ceremony going, reverting back to your intention constantly. You can happily leave that at the door when you move into your ceremony. It's already going to be with you and you're going to remember it as you need to as well. The next thing as well, like don't have a shopping list, don't have a list of intentions, come into it like, okay, section A, B, point C, I'd like to cover blah. It doesn't work that way. It's going to be hard to remember, and I think if we go into the ceremonies with too much information, it's just going to confuse us. The whole place that we want to really get to in our ceremonies is relaxing, letting go of control, and allowing the medicine to show us what it needs to. So, as a last thing, if our intention isn't solved or it isn't, sorted out in the way that we want it to be, what our job is, and also the thing that we can bring to the table. Let's look at what it is trying to show us, because generally you will find it will relate back to your intention in one way or another. Okay everybody, I hope you have found this video informative. I hope it has helped. Please feel free to leave any comments in the comments section in regards to questions around intention setting. Also, please remember to subscribe and like our videos. We're really trying to build this channel and get really great free information out there to people. And how we keep growing is by your support, collaborating with us. So thank you so much. I'm Jarrod. Have a great day.